some bad news. I knew it. I love when he does that.
Well, once you hit rock bottom, the only way to go is up. So good luck, okay? Good luck.
You say rock bottom, but, like, it just seems like things keep getting worse. What is rock bottom? Who decides what's the bottom of all this? I mean, seriously, you go, okay, today is Friday, and I woke up in Cleveland, and I'm going, how much worse can it get?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 291. That's correct, 200 episode 91 of the Hoots Podcast. It's yours truly, the nefarious bird, Adam, a.k.a. Joshie Lopez. You can find me on Twitter at Instagram at Joshie Lopez94 at Josh Lopez Music. If you want to follow me on the cesspool that is known as Twitter, you can follow me on Twitter at Josh Lopez Media. By the way, spam the support page on Twitter. It's just put hashtag free to Hoots Podcast. If you guys can do me that favor, I deeply appreciate it. Happy New Year, everybody. This is our first episode of 2022, and I'm very grateful for you guys to come hang out with us as we always do. Record this podcast on the Thursday. I'm chilling here. It's 1:27 here in Chicago as I'm recording this right now on a Thursday, January 6, 2022. and just really excited for another opportunity to chat with you guys. And I'm very grateful for this platform for not only being a positive and mental escape for me, but just the time to talk shop with you guys. And I'm very grateful for the support that we get each week. And we're 9 episodes away from reaching 300, and it's thanks to all of you. I want to give a big shout out to my good brother and co-host of the Hoots podcast, Derek Stoughton, aka Sir Jericho. He got engaged during the holiday break, and I could not be more proud and happier for him. It was really awesome news to see that over the weekend. So Brett Carter is engaged. He procured the love of his life and his ventures, and I'm very happy for him and his fiance Ashley. So let's give a big shout out to Brett Carter for that big accomplishment. Also, I like to mention Brett Carter's back on the podcast this week, only via satellite though. He did send some audio clips, so he'll be part of What the Hell's Wrong AEW this week. And also at the end, we got the return of the Thoughts of Dericho. So we figured let's stack up this edition of the Hoots podcast. This is our first episode of 2022. I'm just really excited, guys. I think there's a lot of things on the horizon for our show this year as we get closer to WrestleMania and get closer to episode 300. By the way, episode 300 will take place on March 10th. And if anybody wants to send any big audio shout-outs or whatever, you could send us in the MP3 file to the TheHootsPodcast@gmail.com. You guys can do me a favor as well. Make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTrashCreatures.com so you can check up what I'm doing outside of the mic, outside of the podcast. My main line of work. Make sure to check it out, ProWrestlingTrashCreatures.com. And lastly, certainly not least, if you're a user on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere you get podcasts from, just type in Who's Podcast, follow us there, and leave us a 4 or 5-star review and rating. Not only it helps expand the reach of the show, but myself and Brother Carter want to gauge on what you guys like or dislike or what we can improve on with our podcast. So make sure to check that out anywhere you get your podcast from. Just type in Who's Podcast. It got a cool logo that my guy Anthony DiStefano made for me a couple years ago, and you should find it there for yourself. So let's get into it. Let's talk about what we're gonna do today. So we got day 1 review that we gotta get to in this week in WWE, plus NXT New Year's Evil. Gotta get into that as well. Plus, the last couple days have been kind of a blur for me, and I'm gonna be talking about my experience covering night 1 and 2 of Wrestle Kingdom. So you're going to get that today as well. Plus, we're going to have the infamous What the Hell's Wrong AEW segment, and of course, wrap it up with the Thoughts of Dericho. So a supersized edition of the Hoots podcast this week. No! Let's start this bad boy off like we usually do with the Good Brothers Q&A session. For those who don't know, the Good Brothers Q&A session is always brought to you by the Good Brothers of the Hoots podcast, the Good Brothers who listen to the show each and every single week. This is one of my favorite parts of the show because I get to interact with you guys and answer your questions and stuff you want to know about wrestling, life, sports, anything that's on your mind. And we're going to get to that right now. So we get to the Good Brothers Q&A session. And we're going to actually start off with Ant here, since he left the question here on Facebook. We're going to start off here with Anthony DiStefano. By the way, make sure to check out Ant's podcast called Elite POV. You should check it out, especially if you're a big AEW fan. Ant does a great job. He has a great crew of people that he does the show with every single week. And they got a lot of great traction. I've seen their interviews posted on nearly every wrestling website these days, which is pretty cool to see. And they've had recent interviews with Ty Conti and FTR. You should check out as well. If you're a big AEW fan, I suggest you go check out Ant's podcast called Elite POV. You guys will definitely enjoy it. Ant says here, I'm a huge Jade Cargill fan, but I think she's great. Do you think she'll grow with that title into a major star? I see money in her. I do. I see money in her. I don't think she could be just a star. I think she could be a mega star. And I just think in some cases in wrestling, and I kind of look at it in different ways. It's size and stature. Let's look at somebody like Alexa Bliss, right? Alexa Bliss may not be Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in the ring, but she's always in high positions and always spotlighted on TV because her work in the ring placates to the character that she's portraying on the show. I see a lot of potential in Jade Cargill, and she doesn't have to be an amazing in-ring worker. Is the in-ring stuff more a precedent in AEW, of course, but I feel like her character, that she could be something so unique to the brand as opposed to an indie darling that's layered and thrust all over this show every single week. Like she could be something so unique to the brand, and I think that's the cool thing about her. And we'll talk about Jade Cargill later on in the segment when we get to her match or whatever. But I see a lot in Jade Cargill. I like to see more of her talk about herself. I'm not really into the whole Mark Sterling crap, but she has the look, obviously. I think she's better than adequate in the ring from what I've seen so far. Is there stuff that she can improve on? Obviously, of course, but I feel like she's good right now for the character that she's portraying on TV. And sometimes you can resonate more with the audience with having your match placate to the character you're playing into, placate to the character that you're presenting to the audience, as opposed to, okay, I need to pop the crowd by doing 6 million moves at once. You know, I feel like she has the perfect balance right now for where she's at in her in-ring skills. And guys, let's not forget, she's just really getting her start in wrestling. She made her wrestling debut last year. So I'm more than impressed by what I've seen so far for Jade Cargill in this short amount of time since she started wrestling. So big shout out to Jade Cargill, the brand new AEW TBS champion. All right, here we go. Chris Saletta at XTeenSaletta24X on Twitter. What up, Luce? Here's the question for the Q&A this week. Best match for New Year's Evil. Oh, man. I'm going to go with Imperium against MSK and Matt Riddle. That'll be my picks. Best match 2 days from Wrestle Kingdom. Oh, man. You know what, Chris? I'm going to save those for when we get to the Wrestle Kingdom segment, okay? Thoughts on William Regal being let go? I saw that news yesterday. I think it's unfortunate. One thing I've learned about wrestling is that nothing is guaranteed. That's the shoot. It doesn't matter how long you've been in one company. It doesn't matter what your status is or what you've done for the business. The business is always fluid, and I don't think anything in wrestling is ever linear. And I feel for anybody that ever loses their job, but also at the same time, I'm not just kind of like, even when it comes to the talent releases, I'm not really in a position where I'm just going to lose my mind over these type of releases. It's unfortunate. You hate to see people be let go. But, and I never know the situation prior to somebody being released, and you never know who wants to be out of the companies that they're in. If this is something where Regal wanted to try something new and he wanted to lead WWE, more power to him. I just feel, for me personally, I don't have it. The releases and the stuff like that doesn't affect me personally. I hate seeing people lose their jobs, but it doesn't take away from the job I have to do and what my focus should be on. And I think it's unfortunate that he got let go. He had an amazing run in WWE. To think about the guy that, you know, if Regal's wrestling today, you'd be like one of those guys, oh, WWE held him back and do this, blah, 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 blah. Regal had an amazing career, and he is really responsible for a lot of the good talents that we've seen come through WWE over the last 10 and 15 years. And he had an amazing run down there at NXT, and you should be very proud of that. So I wish him nothing but the best. I wasn't expecting that news, but he hasn't been on TV for a while, so I figured something was up. And, you know, more changes are coming. It's not that you have to agree with those changes. You don't have to, but that's the thing about business. Nothing's ever, okay, this is never going to change, blah, 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 unless you're like the owner or CFO of the company. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on it. Will Walter be in the Royal Rumble? Let's see. If he's still in the United States by that time, I'll say yes. But we'll have to see how long that goes. Do you think New Year's Evil was it for Tommaso Ciampa? I think Ciampa will take a break. I don't know if that's it for him with WWE again. I'm not into the behind-the-scenes dirt sheet crap, so I don't know when his contract is expiring. But I'll just say not for now. Maybe he has something up. I think he probably has some unfinished business with Grayson Waller due to the stuff that happened with Johnny Gargano, so I'll be on the lookout for that. Should the Chicago Bulls make a move at the trade deadline? If so, who or what position should they look into adding? Well, I don't know who's would be available. That doesn't really hinder their cap space going into next year because I think they could really even elevate the roster to another level if their cap space is in a good spot next season. But right now, the Bulls are in a really good spot. I've been really enjoying watching the Bulls again and watching the NBA. And it's been a lot of fun to watch the marvelous DeRozan and Compton's in the house. I got to tell you, we got the best announced team in all of the NBA. Adam Amin and Stacey King on the Bulls broadcast. It's top shelf restaurant quality, as Jonathan Hood would say. It's just we got an amazing booth, and we got a fun team to watch too, which makes it even better. From what I've heard from local sports talk radio, there's been a lot of talk about getting a bigger size player, or maybe a big to come off the bench in that role. I don't know who that would be. I like to see maybe a couple more 3-point guys that could be consistent 3-point shooters to come off the bench, and can find anybody like that'd be available. That'd be cool. But I think they have what they need from a defensive standpoint. For me, having one more reserve big man or a couple more consistent 3-point shooting guys, I think would really help the team go to the next level. So, I like what I've seen so far, so I'm really curious to see what they do with the trade deadline. And from what we've seen so far from AK Art Carney or Mark Emsley, they haven't seemed like they'd be like a management group that sits on their hats. So I'm really curious to see what they do with the trade deadline coming up. So that's a good question, Chris. Last one for Chris here. He says, any surprises in the Women's Royal Rumble match this year? Oh boy. It was really cool to see Victoria in the Royal Rumble last year. I thought that was cool. You guys know that I met Lisa Marie Verone a couple of times, and I consider her a good friend. So it was really cool to see that. I don't know. The Rumbles in St. Louis, I would love to see Melina show up, but it's like one of those things we get to every year. It's like, who's going to pop up the Royal Rumble? There was a couple years, it was like Carlito, Shelton Benjamin, Rob Van Dam, and Chris Masters are like always rumored to pop up in the Royal Rumble and make their returns and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And I'm very curious. I mean, I would love to see Melina. That'd be cool. Molly Holly not being a producer, you can probably see her come out. I like to see her come out as Mighty Holly. I think that'd be pretty cool, actually. So, I don't know. I don't know who'd be available, who doesn't have COVID, who does have COVID. Those are one of those things when it comes to the Rumble. I just want to see them come out when they come out. I don't want to second guess because it takes the fun out of the surprise of your fancy booking. What the surprise is the Rumble, it kind of defeats the purpose. You know what I mean? But good questions this week as always, good brother. I appreciate you. Make sure to follow Twitter at XScenes1124X on Twitter. Next batch of questions this week comes from Mr. Patrick Fritz, the New England Patriots fan that he is. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at RatedPWF. He says here, do you feel there are any unification matches happening for WWE title belts this year? Well, we just saw one in NXT New Year's Evil with Carmel Hayes and Roderick Strong, and I'll talk about that in the WWE segment later on. But to answer this question, I think there's a possibility of potentially the WWE title and the Universal title being unified. I do believe that. And I also think there's a possibility of the brand split ending up, and it's something I've been calling for on this podcast for about a year and a half now. So if there was ever a time to actually unify main roster titles, it would probably be right now. I mean, all of them. You could unify all of them outside the IC and US title. I just feel like having a women's tag team division title is kind of useless unless there's a full length women's brand, all women's show on the network or something like that. I just don't. It's not beneficial to the women because some women are even still getting a. They're still like, getting lost in the shuffle. So I would like to see at least maybe the main title become unified and hopefully start getting into that part where we end the brand split. But I don't know. Maybe it's something with Fox and USA where they don't want the brand split to end. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But that's a good question, though. What are your expectations with the relaunch of the XFL? Well, I was actually starting to get a little bit into the XFL that came back about a year and a half ago, and then COVID started, and then the league disappeared, and that was just unfortunate. I started to enjoy a little bit of the stuff that I was watching, but I've always been a supporter of The Rock and everything he's done outside of wrestling, and I have no doubts that he has the best interests of the XFL, and I believe in what he thinks is good, in good quality content, not just in wrestling, but just any form of entertainment. I'm a football fan, so I'll watch. I'll give it a shot. My expectations are not too high, but they're not too low either. I just want to see what it looks like, and I'm curious to see what The Rock's vision for the XFL is. That's what my attention's at. Let's see. What kind of celebration are you planning for episode 300? Stay tuned. Let's just say that. Stay tuned, pal. Thanks, Pat, for sending the questions this week. As always, I appreciate you. All right, here we go. Let's start off with Nathan Gray here. My last batch of questions for the Q&A this week. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Psycho Nagiri. Nate says here, if the world ended tomorrow, what is something you would do before it ends? Oh, God. Well, if I had like my last meal, it would be steak, pierogies, garlic bread, pastita noodles on the side, salad, and sided meatballs just for the hell of it. I mean, we're going out tomorrow, right? So it'd be, let's go have like a side of meatballs or fried raviolis next to it too. And then drinks, probably have like a red. I'm really into like Gatorade. I'm really into like the fruit punch color, like Gatorade. I'll have that out of side with water and I don't know, maybe some iced tea for later on or whatever. But I would play my guitar. I would probably try to find a couple of wrestling stuff to watch. Maybe try to run through the whole How I Met Your Mother show again. I would propose to Alicia Toots. I don't know. There's so many things you could do with that. Oh man. I can't pinpoint like one thing I would actually do with that, but this is just stuff off the top of my head. So I'm sorry, Nate. Yeah, that's what I would do. That's a great question. Next question. Is it important to have goals even if you don't accomplish a lot of them? I think so, but I don't think it's something that you should hang over your head where it's like you're a failure in some ways. Like, look, I had my goal of when I was in high school, my one goal and my main focus during that time period when I was there, outside of the stuff I was dealing with at home at that time period, was to get accepted by Berkeley College of Music in Boston. I remember, like yesterday, we were in one of our music classes at school, and the music director is telling us that, hey, yeah, a lot of people in this class that don't have any experience playing music and yada, yada, yada. And it's very unrealistic that, and we were a young school at the time, a young charter school at the time. I got into Ronner probably the third or fourth year of the school starting. You know, I was the first full-time like student guitar player at my high school, Ronner College Prep. And for me, they'd say, like, you know, it's very unrealistic for some of you guys to get to some of the big music colleges in the country. And I took that as a challenge, and it's something that I'm proud to say that I conquered, and I did. I did get accepted to Berkeley, and I wear that as a badge of honor. But even then, as I had that as a goal for me, because I wanted to do music and wanted to travel the world and do all that stuff, even though it was a goal I had that I accomplished, I was able to take it to the next level. I don't look at that as a failure. I look at it as something that I could go back to if my pursuit and journey towards wrestling doesn't work out. You know what I mean? It's very fluid in that type of situation for me, because how we gauge what's successful or a failure or accomplishment is it's up to the person. For me, I know what's good in my heart. I listen to my heart. I listen to what it's telling me, and I stick through my ambitions and what my heart tells me. And I'm not ashamed for the fact that I wasn't able to continue on with music after high school. I still play. I still play music to this day. But how I gauge what's success and failure is very different, because I feel like where I am right now in my life, and I'm still very young, I have to appreciate these days. I have to appreciate the time where I feel like I'm paying my dues and I'm not having everything handed to me, and I'm not at like a big radio station right now, or I'm not working at a big wrestling organization right now. I have to appreciate this time period, because it's this time period that's going to count, and it's going to mean the world to me once those doors actually open. So I don't look at the fact that I wasn't able to continue on with music as failure. It was a goal of mine. I went after it relentlessly, and I accomplished it. And I tell everybody every single week, you got to be the authentic product that is yourself, and you can't have anybody dictate the pace of your life but yourself. And it's on you. If you have a goal, it's on you to accomplish it. It's not for anybody to give it to you. And I accomplished a goal. I got accepted to the Berkeley College of Music in Boston, and nobody can take that away from me. And it's not a failure on me. I did not fail. I wasn't able to afford to pay a move out to Boston at the time. It just is what it was. It is what it is. Even if I had grade A 4.0 GPA or whatever, even then I still would have been able to attend the school just because of the money issue. My grades was bad or anything like that. I was a good student, but even then, just during that time period, it was just unrealistic for me to move out to Boston at that time, and it's what it is. I think it's important to have goals because you have a purpose with you. Anytime you get to a point where you start feeling empty and there's no other purpose in your life, that's when things can get really dark and you go into places in your head where you shouldn't go. And I feel, for me personally, I think it's very important to have goals because it gives you a incentive to push forward. You know, even when things are not lining up for you, that doesn't mean you stop doing what you're doing. And you got to push through every day, the good days, the bad days, with whatever you're doing or whatever you're pursuing, because it's that journey that counts. That's why when you have those accomplishments, it means so much to you. That's why when you see actors cry or musicians cry or get overwhelmed with emotion whenever they win these awards and stuff for these award shows, because it's the work they put into that. And I think it's important to have goals, even if you don't accomplish certain goals and you get sent into a different direction. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's not something you should look at as a failure, because you put in the work into it, and maybe God wanted to position you towards a different path. I think it's also something you have to look at it that way as well. I just feel like, for me, if you're putting the work in and you do accomplish the goal, even if you don't take the next step in whatever it is you're doing, I don't look at it as failure, because you set out a goal and you went out and you went after it and you got it. So that's how I look at it. Let's see. Next question here. From your perspective, what do you think are the biggest differences between WrestleMania and Wrestle Kingdom? I just think it's just the atmosphere. It's just two different things. You have the visual aspects of the WWE and the pomp and circumstance that goes into a WrestleMania, and it is one of the biggest events in the entire world that's produced throughout the year. And with Wrestle Kingdom, they have great production too. I love the stage setup that they have. I love the atmosphere of Wrestle Kingdom, but it's just a totally different vibe. You have a Japanese crowd that's very quiet at times and just appreciating what's going on in the ring, and then you got 70 or 80,000 people losing their mind at the scripted entertainment show that's based on professional wrestling. And it's just two different experiences. There's a lot more pyro and ballyhoo that goes into WrestleMania than there is Wrestle Kingdom, but I think both of them are special in their own way, and they serve different purposes. And yeah, you get more longer length matches on Wrestle Kingdom than you would a WrestleMania, but for my opinion, I have just as much the same excitement that I have for covering a Wrestle Kingdom that I would being attending or covering a WrestleMania, So, with that being said, I just think probably the bigger difference is just how the shows are formatted. I'll say that. It's just there's not a lot of video packages with New Japan as they go to one match or another. Sometimes with WWE shows, especially WrestleMania, you'll have a 4 or 5 minute video package, and then the entrances probably take 8 minutes as well. So it's boom, 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 boom. And it's just a different vibe. And I don't think that's a bad thing either, though, too. If you want my honest opinion, I like how Wrestle Kingdom is presented. I like how WrestleMania is presented as well. It's just a good vibe. It's cool to have different presentations for your biggest shows of the year. And for me, I like the power and value of WrestleMania, but I love the grit and the hard-hitting action that comes from Wrestle Kingdom. So it's a balancing thing. I don't have a preferential. I don't prefer Wrestle Kingdom over WrestleMania. I don't prefer WrestleMania over Wrestle Kingdom. These are two events that I look forward to every single year, and it was a blast getting to cover this one this past year, a couple days ago. So, next question here from Nate. He says, as someone who knows nothing about Noah, can you tell me why them getting involved in Wrestle Kingdom was a big deal? I just think it's cool for the attraction, having Pro Wrestling Noah against New Japan. I just think that's a cool deal. New Japan is celebrating their 50th anniversary, and if this is something they want to do, a cool promotion versus promotion thing, I think it's kind of cool. I don't like the fact that the entire show is fucking tag team matches, but I don't mind it being a concept of having New Japan against Pro Wrestling Noah. But my only gripe with this is the fact there's 10 tag team matches. You would have got more bang for your buck if you got some other one-on-one single matches. And I'll be honest, I don't know much about Pro Wrestling Noah, so I'm curious for myself to watch this show and cover it on Saturday and see what goes down in that barn burner of a show. So I'm intrigued. I really am. I'm curious to see how that one plays out. Favorite match for Wrestle Kingdom 16? I'm going to go with Okada and Ospreay, and I'll explain why later. There you go. Last time I asked a question like this year. What are two things you'd like to see happen more than anything this year in the wrestling world? Personally, KO wins the WWE title and Evil as IWGP US champion. I have a couple things. One, I agree with you. I'd like to see Kevin Owens win the WWE title. That'd be pretty cool. Secondly, I want to see Ishii either get a chance to become the U.S. champion, IWGP U.S. heavyweight champion, or have Ishii win one of the blocks or even win the New Japan Cup. I would love to see Ishii win one of the tournaments this year for New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think that'd be really cool. As far as AEW is concerned, love to see CM Punk main event at AEW pay-per-view. I think that'll happen sooner or later. But those are the ones that come off the top of my head. Let's see. Last question here for the podcast this week. Do you ever get giddy to write a transcript? I do. I was excited for, I was excited to cover Wrestle Kingdom because this is my 7th one that I transcribed in my career so far, and I was really pumped up. I stood up and I covered the show live for both nights, and I went through it no problem. It was a good experience. I'm glad that I did it, and I hope the people enjoyed the transcripts for both nights of Wrestle Kingdom. I put a lot of work and effort into both of those articles, and I hope it came out to serve justice to the action that we saw over the last couple of days. So, yeah, I get giddy. Is there shows that I don't get excited for covering? Of course, but I get excited if there's like a particular match I'm looking forward to. I'll say that like before a big pay-per-view, if there's a match that I get giddy for that type of stuff. Overall shows are sometimes hit and miss for me, but more times than not, I am giddy. I'm always giddy in a good mood whenever I'm like covering New Japan or I'm doing an NXT UK show or even MLW. I get excited to cover their shows too because they put out some good action. Quick sip of water there. But, yeah, I get excited. It's never too over the top, though. I have to be in the right mind frame when I get into doing transcripts because if my mind going in a million different directions, then it's just not going to come out as a good article. So I have to be in the right mental space to get into doing those type of transcripts. So, yes, I get excited, Nate, but it's never over the top. So I want to make that perfectly clear. So, great question, though. Great questions always this week from you guys. Shout out to Ant, Chris, Pat, and Nate this week for the questions this week for the Good Brothers Q&A session. As always, if you want to participate, all you have to do is send me a question at TheHootsPodcast@gmail.com or at Josh Lewis Media on Twitter. With that being said, when we come back, let's talk about what happened this week in WWE and our reviews of WWE Day 1 and NXT New Year's Evil right here on the Hoots Podcast. Yes, sir.
Before we get this party started tonight, I'd like to give a big shout out to my good buddy, Roman Reigns. He's probably sitting at home, more than likely, tuned into Monday Night Raw, tuned into the new WWE Heavyweight Champion, the real champion, Brock Lesnar. Get well soon, buddy. I would also like to acknowledge my advocate for advocating my free agency for advocating all the strings you pulled Saturday to help make me the WWE champion. Paul? Thank you.
If you think it's interesting out here, you should see the things that go on behind the scenes in WWE. Like when I negotiated for Brock Lesnar to be a free agent, allegedly did that in advance. And then Saturday at day one, when Brock Lesnar showed up looking to win a title from a champion, and one champion simply could not make it, but the other champion was in a fatal four-way. And what's better than a fatal four-way than a fatal five-way featuring Brock Lesnar? So all the behind-the-scenes machinations and the strings were pulled, and Brock Lesnar gets to enter the fatal five-way. And now, what does Brock Lesnar do as your WWE Heavyweight Champion? Well, he concentrates not only on reigning, but defending. So at the Royal Rumble, Brock Lesnar will defend the championship against the winner of the originally scheduled Fatal 4-Way, which takes place tonight right here in this very ring. Let's run down the challengers, shall we? First, there's Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens, and you have to lump them in together because they are a team. They're a team in a match where every man is for himself. These two figured out to be jackals, to be hyenas, to go after the lions of the jungle. Because then if they win it together, they have to figure it out. It's up to WWE and screw management as far as they are concerned. And it's a smart thing for someone who's pretty damn dumb like Seth Rollins. Maybe the two of them should have to be traded to SmackDown, because I understand there's a certain tribal chief who's a little vulnerable without his special counsel nowadays. Oh, don't go ooh. It's a historical fact. Want me to prove it to you? 1 week without me as special counsel, Roman Reigns already has COVID. Let's talk, however, about Bobby Lashley. There's a worthy challenger. Brock Lesnar has never met Bobby Lashley. There's a historical fact. Brock Lesnar never ran into Bobby Lashley in the back. They never shook hands. They never say hello to each other. It's like the two were avoiding each other, which I know is not the case, because neither one avoids anything or anybody in life. He's the odds-on favorite. He's the former champion, and it's Big E. We have nothing bad to say. Yeah, he deserves your applause. That is a great champion. Big E did WWE justice. Big E is a credit to World Wrestling Entertainment, to the company, to the audience, to the WWE Universe, to the viewers at home, to the people live here tonight, to the lineage of the WWE title. Big E is all that and more. And he would still be WWE Champion if he didn't have to step into the ring with Brock Lesnar. We have nothing but respect and admiration for Big E. So if Big E wins tonight and he gets the rematch of the Royal Rumble, sir, it will be an absolute honor to witness that match. You're going to lose, which is no shame, but it would still be an honor to watch you lose to the greatest WWE champion of all time, the winner of the Fatal 4-Way, the winner of the Fatal 5-Way, excuse me, and your new reigning, defending, undisputed WWE Heavyweight Champion of the world, Brock Lesnar!
That, kids, right there is how you cut a promo, pal. Welcome back, everybody. It's time to talk about what happened this week in WWE. We're coming off the heels of the WWE Day 1 pay-per-view in Atlanta, Georgia. Right there, you just heard comments from Paul Heyman this past Monday night in Greenville, South Carolina. For Monday Night Raw, Paul Heyman's back doing business with the Beast Incarnate Brock Lesnar, your brand new WWE Champion. So before we get into Raw and SmackDown this week, I think we should start off with day one, right? Let's get into it. Let's talk about what happened at day one. And I'll tell you what, guys. I thought this show was really solid to start off the year. I thought it was a really good pay-per-view from top to bottom. I'll point out a couple of matches I liked. Really enjoyed the Usos match with the New Day to kick off the pay-per-view. I mean, it was apropos to start day one with the Usos, right? So that was since day one-ish. So it was really cool for those guys to start off the pay-per-view, and the Usos and the New Day never seem to disappoint in the ring. I find it ironic, though, that some people on Twitter have to ruin the mood for people by posting pictures of the number of times so wrestler fought another wrestler. Okay, if you had 25 Okada and Naito matches, you really couldn't complain about that? I can't believe how much of a fucking cesspool that Twitter's become, where you have people where sometimes there's certain people on Twitter where I can't tell where their angle is, but where they're going with some of their takes that they have, and you probably know who they are, but this kind of reverse psychology thing that these people do, where they tell you one thing and then they tell you another. They're the same people that tell you that WWE fans have an agenda, but they don't, right? I saw this tweet from this dude the other day, this guy named Phil, or I forgot whatever his last name is. He's talking about the whole situation with the Big E losing the WWE title, blah 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 blah. He's making a point about AEW, and he's like, "Oh, people call AEW out for whatever, but they won't talk about their beloved WWE." It's I don't know why you gotta lump the two fan bases together, and you're gonna sit there and act with a high horse like you don't have a fucking agenda with wrestling. Get the fuck out of here, dude. Anyways, I just want to get that off my chest. But I will say this. I'll say this, though. I thought this show was good. I didn't think it was a great pay-per-view or anything like that, but I thought it was a good show to start off 2021. And I like the concept of having pay-per-views on Saturdays. I really do. I thought it was, I like having WWE pay-per-views on Saturdays. It's just a good vibe. Plus, for your boy, I get to relax on a Sunday, so I can't really complain. Anyways, back to the pay-per-view. We had a couple other good matches on the show. I thought Becky and Liv Morgan had a really good match for the Raw Women's title. With that situation, though, I always say you got to maximize your TV time. And I think Liv is slowly getting into a bigger tier level from the female division point of view. And it comes with anything in life. You got to have more reps at it. You got to have more opportunities to cut promos, more opportunities to have more meaningful stuff on television. And is she where she needs to be as far as being considered a top level female reliable star? No. She has a lot of things going for her. Obviously, she's fucking beautiful in more ways than one. I think she's more than adequate in the ring, and I think she's I think she's improved a lot over the last couple of years since she's come up from NXT. And I think that Liv Morgan has a lot of potential to her. She has a lot of spunk to her and a lot of energy and stuff that I enjoy watching her on TV. She's a good time to watch on TV. I think right now, obviously, with the promos, some of them are hit and miss with me. But I think with more reps and stuff, you get to have more of an opportunity to redefine what character she wants to be outside of the Riot Squad and outside of people feeling sorry for her and the stuff that she was doing with Becky. Which I've been enjoying the program they've been having with each other, and I really enjoyed this match. I did not believe there was any scenario that Liv Morgan was going to win the title, because kind of similar to my thoughts with Big E later on, I didn't see any scenario where either Liv Morgan or Big E walk in or walk out of WrestleMania this year with prospective titles that they're holding. that's not me saying that I don't enjoy them as performers or as individuals. Of course I do. I enjoy their work, but I just don't think they're at that point yet. And Big E, let me wrap up this stuff with Becky and Liv Morgan. I really enjoyed the match, and look, I'm gonna get flack for this, but I think Becky Lynch is the best overall in-ring performer out of the four horsewomen. I've had some time now to sit back and reevaluate a lot of things with doing the transcripts, and I was on the Charlotte train, and I still think Charlotte doesn't get her props for what she does as a performer, and I'm still a Charlotte Flair fan, but when I look at it collectively, and everything that goes into professional wrestling and what gets you over, what's a draw or whatever, I feel that Becky Lynch is the best all-around performer, not only on the mic and presence and look and everything, but also in the ring. She does things in the ring that nobody else on the four horsewomen can do. With Bayley, there's like a certain limit you have to reach with her being the babyface. Her stuff as a heel, she's like more sloppier and having more of a brawling style than being a wrestler. Sasha is hit and miss on the microphone and limited in the ring as far as variety of the moves she uses. And Charlotte has her tendencies where she can get sloppy at times too. But I think for me personally, I think Becky Lynch, just being objective here, is probably the best all-around performer of the four horsewomen. And I had an inkling when they first brought up because I feel like she was the one that's going to have the most success out of the four of them. And I just think she's the top female wrestler in the world right now. Britt Baker's not that far off, so I don't want to exclude her from this conversation, but I think Becky Lynch right now is doing some of the best work of her career, and she is the top female wrestler in WWE in my eyes. So I wanted to mention that. Also, we saw on Monday Night Raw a little interaction between Becky, Liv, and Bianca heading towards the Royal Rumble. I wonder if we'll get one more one-off with Becky and Liv Morgan as far as the Royal Women's title match is concerned. Maybe, I don't think they'll do Becky and Asuka again for the third time in the Royal Rumble. That'd be interesting, but I'm very curious to see what they do with the Royal Women's title when it comes to the Royal Rumble, because I don't know who Becky will fight at that show. And honestly, right now, I don't have any idea of who's going to win the Women's Royal Rumble match. I really don't. Let's go back to the pay-per-view, though. Let's talk about Edge and The Miz. I was bummed to hear that my guy Jay Hood said that this match was a C-, and just, geez, burying The Miz, pal, burying The Miz. I mean, of course, The Miz is not, he's not Paul Orndorff or Tully Blanchard in the ring, but I think Miz deserves more credit than being a below average guy. I enjoyed the match. I love the entrance with Edge's transition from the Brood to good guy. I mean, shout out to Jay Hood. Check out his show Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. But I thought this match was better than what he gave it credit for, and I thought Edge looked fantastic in the match. And not just the bell action, but listen to the crowd as the match was going out. I think this was probably the longest match of the show, if I'm not mistaken. And you had Edge win. Beth Phoenix started running after Maurice. We're setting up a mixed tag match at the Royal Rumble with Edge and Beth Phoenix against Miz and Maurice, which I think will be pretty cool. We saw a little bit about that on Monday night. And then look at that. Things going on right now with Edge and Miz. I've been liking their program so far, but I don't know. I love David, but I wouldn't call that match a C-, maybe a B or B- or something like that. I wouldn't call it a C. I think it's a little harsh, but I enjoyed the match. Let's see what else. Let's talk about the main event, of course. Controversy that everybody is talking about. Brock Lesnar is your new WWE champion. Unfortunately, the trial chief went down with COVID. I also saw earlier today as I was recording the show on the Thursday that Roman Reigns has been medically cleared to return to the ring, so that's good to see. Shout out to the tribal chief, so we'll hear what he has to say tomorrow night on SmackDown and get some more clarification with that situation. But look, I get it. A lot of people are upset about Big E losing the WWE title in that fashion, and some people are making comparisons to him losing the title to Brock Lesnar easy, like Kofi Kingston did on the 1000th episode of SmackDown. I disagree with that vividly. I disagree with that because Kofi lost in 8 seconds. This is an 8-minute match, a car crash. Brock Lesnar got speared through a barricade. Big E did a couple of things with Brock Lesnar beforehand, so let's not act like Big E wasn't able to put his hands on Brock Lesnar. Look, man, this is part of the business, and the thing they always say about wrestling, card is subject to change. And it sucked that Roman Reigns got COVID beforehand and it changed the plans of the show, but this is part of the business, and I'm not upset with the fact that Brock Lesnar became the WWE champion, nor do I think this is some sign that Big E is going to take 5 steps back or whatever, or Big E's buried. I don't get that take either. Now, the whole thing about whether he should took the pin or not is that's so subjective in my eyes, because in my opinion, if you're a champion and you're going to lose the title that night, you should be the one to take the honors and take that pin. That's just my opinion. And this match was insane for 8 minutes. We got a little appetizer of what we're going to see at the Royal Rumble now with Brock Lesnar against Bobby Lashley one-on-one for the first time ever. I think that's going to be pretty cool. But going back to Big E, look, I enjoy Big E. I'm a big fan of Big E. And I think he did a really good job as WWE champion, as you heard Paul Heyman eloquently stated in the clip earlier. Big E's been a very good WWE champion. But I'm not going to sit here and act like, oh, Big E's potential or whatever is ruined by this one loss. If this one loss is going to ruin Big E's career, he should ask for his release right now. That may be a hot take right now, but I'm going to say right now, if this one loss right here to the circumstances that went down at day one, if this loss is so bad that it's going to ruin the rest of Big E's career, you should request his release right now. I'm just going to say it. Comparing Big E's loss to Kofi Kingston's loss to Brock Lesnar in that first show they did on Fox, I just think it's fucking ridiculous. That's just my opinion. So overall, I enjoyed day one. I'll give day one a B+. I thought it was a solid 8 out of 10 show. Solid pay-per-view to kick off the year. I want to get your guys' thoughts on it too. Do you like having these pay-per-views on a Saturday? I'll love to get you guys thoughts on it. Hit me up on Twitter at Josh Lopez Media. So let's get to what happened on Monday Night Raw this week. We obviously I mentioned Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley will be taking place at the Royal Rumble, which would be really cool. We had a couple different matches on Raw this week, which was interesting. We had the Fatal 4-Way they were supposed to get at day one. Bobby Lashley won that main event. It was very good. We had the Alpha Academy beat RK Bro. I think that's a match that we could possibly see at the Royal Rumble. That'd be a match I would actually look forward to watching, to be honest with you. So definitely would like to see that. And then what else on the show that stood out to me? I don't know if we're going to have a triple threat with Bianca, Liv, and Becky, because I think maybe you want to have Bianca in the Royal Rumble. We'll have to see how that one plays out. Let's see. Anything else? Oh, I want to give a big shout out to Damian Priest and Dolph Ziggler. I thought their U.S. title match this past week on Raw was really, really good. I mentioned earlier we got the announcement of Edge and Beth Phoenix against Miz and Maurice at Royal Rumble. We talked about it last week here on the podcast about this kind of 3-year story where Edge made his return in 2020 at the Royal Rumble. He won the Royal Rumble last year in 2021. Beth Phoenix also had her epic performance at the Royal Rumble 2020 as well. So it's very interesting. See anything else I missed here before we get to the last part of this? Oh, I saw a little something about Alexa Bliss returning to Monday Night Raw next week, so that should be pretty interesting as well. So overall, I thought Raw was solid follow-up for day one. I thought it was a good show this week. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with SmackDown now that Brock Lesnar's the WWE Champion. We know that Roman Reigns will be popping up and gracing us with his presence now, so that's cool. Last thing here we'll mention before we get to our preview for NXT UK, I want to talk a little bit about NXT New Year's Evil that took place this past Tuesday at the Performance Center. Carmelo Hayes and Roderick Strong had a barn burner. If you haven't seen this match, go out of your way to watch it. It's a title unification match for the unified NXT North American Championship. Carmelo Hayes won this match. Roderick Strong put an epic performance on. I love transcribing his matches, and Carmelo Hayes continues to get better with each match that he puts on, and I think the ceiling is really, really high for Carmelo Hayes. We found out that AJ Styles will be fighting Grayson Waller on NXT coming up soon, so that's pretty cool. We also had Imperium against Matt Riddle and MSK. This was my favorite match from New Year's Evil the other night, and this match was fucking insane. I love Walter. It was great to see him back in the ring. Nice to see him interact with Riddle. So I think they had a previous match in the UK. I could be mistaken, but this 6-man tag was really good. I seen just about every type of 6-man tag team match I can, but this is probably the template I think you would want to use if you want an effective 6-man tag team match. Hell, I got 5 paragraphs out of this match alone in the transcript. So Matt Riddle and MSK won the match. I thought it was very enjoyable. I really enjoyed the match. And then big shout out to Braun Breaker becoming your brand new NXT champion, defeating Tommaso Ciampa. Very physical, hostile match. Cool to see him celebrate with his dad, Rick Steiner, after the pay-per-view. Not the pay-per-view, after the NXT went off the air. So I thought it was pretty cool. NXT New Year's Evil was a very good show. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, go on your way to check it out. And then finally here for NXT UK, today we have Miko Satomura putting her NXT UK Women's title on the line against Blair Davenport in the main event. And we got to start this number one contenders tag team tournament. We have Symbiosis against Jonathan Hood's favorite tag team, Oliver Connor and Ashton Smith. So that should be a good match. So the first live action of NXT UK in 2 weeks. Very excited to type that down in a little bit. And check that out, NXT UK, the best show that WWE produces each and every single week. There, my friends, is what happened this week in WWE. All right, folks, before we get to our main event segment of the show this week, it's time to talk about, Wrestle Kingdom 16. Let's get into it. I wish we could do a longer form podcast special on Wrestle Kingdom 16, but might as well talk about it out here instead of letting it delay it and letting it, it's one of those things where, like, as a content creator, where you wouldn't want to, like, drag a topic out for a couple weeks in advance because you just don't have the time to talk about it. So I'm going to make it count and talk about it here on this podcast for you guys here, our first episode of 2022. So I felt it was very important to come out here and discuss what I took away from the 2-night extravaganza that I just went through the last couple of days. And, I gotta say, man, it was really cool to have Kevin Kelly and Chris Charlton do the commentary. I always have to give them a big shout out when it comes to these Wrestle Kingdom events because they really helped me out. And they're my point of reference when it comes to covering these shows. So I guess we should start off with this, my overall takeaway. Obviously, there's a lot of differences in the vibes when it comes to these Wrestle Kingdom events due to the fact that we're still in the pandemic and we still have a lot of the foreign guys at these shows and stuff like that. It's just a different experience, and you have to sit in and let the action be the thing and the vibe and the energy you have to take away from it. So for overall, for me, I thought this Wrestle Kingdom was very successful for New Japan. We had a couple of title changes from both nights, and I thought it was a very good way to start out 2022 for New Japan. Let's talk about the matches I enjoyed really quick for night 1 and 2, and then I'll talk about the stuff I didn't like. Show and Yo to start off the show. This is the only match in the show from both nights I thought was kind of disappointing. Not that I didn't like or love. I was in the middle of this. I'm happy that Yo won, but I thought this match was a little disappointing due to the nature of their feud. If any of the matches needed to be no DQ, it was this one. But I'm glad they had the opportunity to kick off the show, and I thought it was a good match. But I don't know, I felt something a little off there with that particular match. We had a couple solid 6-man tag team matches on night 1. I thought the Chaos match, the United Empire one, was the best one that they had. The prelims, I thought that was good. It was so cool to see Shibata return to the ring. This was my first time to cover a Shibata match live as it was happening. So that was pretty cool. Shibata defeated Ren Narita in a regular match. They originally advertised this as a catch wrestling rules match, but Shibata's like in the ring before the match started, like, hey, we're going to have real rules, strikes and everything. It was good. It was really good. You should check it out. Happy for Ren Narita too. That was his first return in a live main roster New Japan shows as he went on Exurgence. So that's a pretty cool moment for Narita. Let's see what other stuff that I enjoyed here for night 1. Of course, one of the matches that stood out the most to me for night 1 was the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team title match with Dangerous Tekkers losing to Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi. Such a cool moment for Yoshihashi in his trajectory in New Japan in his career. To see him win the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles was really, really cool. That was a good match. Also, El Desperado and Hiromu had a very good match. El Desperado retained. I was happy to see that. I thought with the year he had last year, I just thought it'd be a little deflating for him just to lose like nothing to Hiromu. So it was cool to see him retain the title there. And then Shingo and Okada was a fantastic match. And I'm a little bummed out from my end that Shingo is not still your IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, but Okada's back into his rare form again, and he's that dude, man. And this match was really good. The wrap up night 1. Let's go to night 2 really quick before I get to the stuff that I did not like from this show, from these Wrestle Kingdom shows. The pre-show for night 2 had 3 6-man tag team matches. But it wasn't all just random tag matches. We had a moment in the pre-show where Master Wato made Desperado tap out to a modified Anaconda Vice. So it looks like Wato will be the first one to go after Despy and his IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. So I thought that was really cool to see that in the pre-show. Also, we had LIJ and Suzuki Gun in the main event of that pre-show. So Takagi put Doki away with the Last of the Dragon. All right, night 2. I thought the show's night 2, in my opinion, was the better show than night 1 for me. I thought night 2 really delivered. The first match, the triple threat match for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles, Robbie Eagles and Tiger Mask retained, and we found a metal piece come out of El Phantasmo's boot. So we found the mystery that Phantasmo's boot was absolutely loaded, and the referee decided to eject Ishimori and Phantasmo from the match. So I thought that was very interesting. Very good match, but Robbie Eagles and Tiger Mask are still your IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions. We had the Stardom Spotlight match on the show, which was really cool. Starlight Kid and Mayu Iwatani lost to Saya Kamitani and Tam Nakano. I thought that was a very good match. Four very good, talented female wrestlers that you should keep your eye on. Very, very good. Minoru Suzuki is your new KOPW champion. I thought that was cool. Let's see here. Other ones that I enjoyed for this event. we had a little preview for the New Japan versus Pro Wrestling Noah show before the intermission. I thought that was cool. I thought Sonata and Great Okada was decent. Sonata won with the Japanese leg clutch hold. Naito and Jeff Cobb had a barn burner. That match was fantastic. Naito won with the Destino. Kenta and Tanahashi went to war in their no DQ match. Some really, really nasty spots. They had some really flimsy ladders in that match. I hope Kenta's okay. The way Tanahashi was shaking that flimsy ladder and the way he fell down did not look good. But Tanahashi won with a super high fly flow off the ladder through a table. Tanahashi, as predictably, he did become your new IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion. I thought it was a fantastic match. I'd love to see the rematch down the road. So Tanahashi is your new IWGP Heavyweight Champion. And Okada and Ospreay, what can I say, man? Ospreay and Okada just never disappointed in the ring. I thought this match was better than the one they had last year. So think about that. And this definitely would be in the category for my top 100 matches, of course. And I have to say that and put it in a little Excel sheet, I guess, so I can remember this. But Okada and Ospreay was phenomenal. Okada won, of course, was the Rainmaker. Naito will be the next challenger for Okada for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. So I thought night 2, both nights were the top show for me. The main thing that I did not like from Wrestle Kingdom this year is the one thing that I still don't enjoy about New Japan Pro Wrestling. And it's the House of Torture. What happened to Ishii on night 1 was complete grade A, homogenized, Holstein bullshit. Okay? I'll just cut it to the chase right there. It's complete bullshit. I felt bad for Ishii. The 6-man tag the next night was littered with interference and all this stuff. It's just it's not even like good heel stuff where you're bothered by what they do. It's like stuff that makes you want to change the channel. And this has been going on for over a year and a half now, and Dick Togo has done Evil no services at all. And I hate saying that because Evil is actually one of my favorite guys from LIJ when I first really got back into covering New Japan on a full-time basis. And House of Torture sucks. You guys know my opinions on the Young Bucks and all that stuff from AEW, right? Picture that and 10 times worse, and that's the House of Torture for me. I hated it. I thought it was stupid. The fact that Ishii only got to hold the title for a couple months, his first major singles title on a Wrestle Kingdom show, and you have him lose like that? Because we gotta have every fucking Evil match, we gotta have Toga wrap his stupid Garrett around somebody's neck. It's just not good. Like, you can even telegraph where the stupid spots are gonna happen. And I get it. The referees in New Japan are treated like shit. You can do basically whatever you want in a New Japan match, but at some point, like fucking DQ somebody. All of a sudden, they're knocking down the ring announcer every single match. They're having people run in the ring and do spots and chairs on the outside. Like, DQ somebody. I don't know, man. It's just frustrating because I hate seeing that happen to Ishii, and I think the House of Torture is pure trash. It's the house of shit. It's the house of crap. Whatever phrase you want to add onto it, the House of Torture absolutely sucks, okay? So, with all that being said, I thought Wrestle Kingdom 16 has been a successful experience so far, and excited to see what happens as it concludes this weekend with Noah and New Japan from Yokohama coming up on Saturday. So check out that transcript at ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. All right, it's time to give the people what they want, what they've been waiting for. Another stellar restaurant quality edition of What the Hell is Wrong with AEW. We're going to start this off with the newly engaged Brother Carter in a 3, 2, 1.
It's time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW? What the hell is wrong with AEW? Well, it's a new year, it's a new network, and it's the same old shit from All Elite Wrestling. Oh boy, where do we begin with tonight's show? And I'm recording this on Wednesday evening, and you'll be hearing it when the Hoots podcast released on Thursday. But where do we begin with Dynamite this week? Okay, let's talk about the things that I did like, as usual, as we get going with what the hell is wrong with AEW in 2022. I have a feeling this is going to be a great year for what the hell is wrong with AEW, because AEW will continue to be in the toilet and will continue to feed us the content that we love bringing you every single week. All right, let's start with the good stuff. There was a cool suplex spot. So starting with the match between Bryan Danielson and Hangman Adam Page for the AEW World Championship, there was a pretty cool suplex spot over the top rope. So they both went over the top, landed on the floor, and then gave another suplex. I thought that was a pretty cool spot. Pretty athletic by both guys. That was great. Okay, MJF losing by disqualification via Punk is actually pretty smart. I actually like that. MJF losing his first match of the year because Punk came in and disqualified, got him disqualified. I thought that was actually pretty cool. Pretty smart. I like that. And then we got into their promo, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Had the finals of the TBS tournament. I thought this was a good match. The right person won. Congratulations to Jade Cargill on becoming the new and inaugural TBS champion. I think she absolutely deserves it. I think she has the look. I think she has everything she needs to be a world champion. Eventually, she's the TBS champion, so she's the mid-card champion for the women's division, but I think she deserves it. The ending was a bit sloppy, but overall, Jade Cargill is completely the person to hold the title, and congratulations to her. That's just great. Malachi Black's entrance is so cool. I wish we could see it more. That was awesome. I love that. I love the package whenever Malachi Black is on TV. Unfortunately, we only see him on TV about once a month, but when he's on, it's awesome because that entrance is cool, and he's great in the ring. We know what he can do, so that was great. And then there was some kind of weird flip thing that Penta El Zero Miedo did in his match that was so cool. I can't remember what it was, but that was pretty cool. And we got new tag team champions, so congratulations to Jungle Boy and Lucha Express for winning the tag team titles, but we're going to get into that in just a little bit. Okay, let's get into the shit. And we are going to start, of course, with the world title match. All right. I understand why we are starting with the world title match. Well, I thought I did anyways, because I assumed that the TBS championship match, which, you know, has a championship named after, the network that your show is on. So maybe that's a pretty big deal for your network. You should probably have that be the main event. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But, well, I don't know. Booker of the Year, pal, right there. Friggin' Tony Khan. And he's probably going to win it again because the Wrestling Observer newsletter is the most overrated publication in the history of publications. It's a joke. But anyways. But by doing this, you knew what was going to happen. The title was not going to change. The World Championship, right? It's not going to change hands in the opening match of your show. And if it did, it would overshadow the rest of the program. So by starting with this, you knew Paige was gonna win. Ridiculous. Like, put it at the end so we don't know who's gonna win. If they would have put that at the end, I wouldn't have been shocked. Like, I thought that Danielson could have easily walked out as champion. But you knew what was gonna happen at the beginning. So, horrible booking. The match itself was fine. But of course there's blood from both Paige and Danielson. What is the point of this? Just let two great wrestlers wrestle a wrestling match. Oh my God, what a concept. Here's the problem, though. The fans are enabling this. They mark out every week just because it's AEW, not because it's good. Like, they wouldn't know what good was if it slapped him in the face. And I know this because they probably shit on Roman Reigns, who is the best thing in professional wrestling right now. AEW fans are enabling this crap because they go absolutely bonkers for everything that's put in front of them. And I just don't get it. Why were they throwing headbutts when both of them were bleeding? How does that make sense at all? Like, if we're both bleeding, yeah, we're going to use out of our heads. Yeah, we're going to use our head to try to hit our opponent. Boy, that's genius. Genius layout of a match there, folks. Ridiculous. Again, great, Hangman Page wins clean, which was what needed to happen. That was fine. Great match overall, but the blood was completely unnecessary. Just let two great wrestlers wrestle. All right, we get into the MJF versus CM Punk thing. Again, I thought that the layout of that was actually really good. I think the storytelling on that was good. Punk winning by disqualification, no problems with that. I think that was actually really smart. Then we get into the promo, and once again, AEW admits that they are second fiddle to WWE. You get Punk making WrestleMania, or MJF making "You're not even good enough to handle a WrestleMania," meaning that they realize that WrestleMania is the pinnacle of the wrestling business. No pun intended. And then Punk goes out and says that, you know, you want to go to that company, fine. You know, you'll be a part of the 4-day of a day one show or whatever, and then get released faster than you would in the sack. That line was actually kind of funny. But once again, AEW is admitting that they're not a destination. They're a consolation prize. And that's really the biggest thing about all of this. AEW knows they are not a destination. And they have all the momentum in the world right now with their new signings, with the negative view that WWE has in the public eye, with all their releases, and the television that hasn't been great, especially on Raw. So they've got all the momentum in the world, and all they can do is admit that they're second fiddle to WWE. It's just sad. I have nothing to say about the Jericho 2.0 segment. It was boring. Don't care one bit. And we get another Wardlow squash. Don't care. Wardlow's great in the ring, but whatever. I'm curious to see what he can do against a real talent like CM Punk. Okay. Then we get Jade Cargill versus Ruby Soho, which in itself was a fine match. No problem. Glad Jade Cargill won. Why is the title that is literally named after the network of the show not the main event? How does that make sense? Oh, wait, it doesn't, because Tony Khan doesn't know what the fuck he's doing when it comes to booking. He has no clue, but everyone thinks he's the greatest thing in the world. Oh, I'm Tony Khan, man. He's a joke. He doesn't know how to book a television show. Doesn't know how to format a television show. That makes absolutely no sense, and it ruins, it basically diminishes the TBS title by not acknowledging it as, you know, the main event of a show for the network that your show is named on. It's just ridiculous. It makes no sense at all. AEW botches. By the way, go follow AEW botches on Twitter if you don't. It's hilarious. They gets another spot from Brian Pillman Jr., who misses the jump rope, Black kicks him, and gets the win in a useless match. Fine. Then we get to the main event. You have the Lucha Brothers defending against Jungle Express. And as I mentioned before, we have new tag champions. Congratulations to Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus for winning their first titles. That's great. I am a big fan of Jungle Boy. I think that he has potential. I think he could be a world champion eventually. I think he's one of the pillars you can build a company around. So I'm happy he's finally getting his chance to be a champion. But then, okay, so a couple things. First off, we get this random turning out of the lights for no reason. The crowd was even booing it. They're like, what? What the hell? Why are we doing this again? And then it comes back on as if nothing happened. So that was weird. And then, how the hell does going through a table not cause a disqualification? Oh, wait, because the rules don't matter in All Elite Wrestling, and the dead corpse refs are completely useless. This is just the inmates running the asylum in this godforsaken television show. Like, seriously, they could go out there and cheat all they want, and none of them would ever get disqualified. It's just ridiculous. There are no disqualifications in AEW, and I don't quite get it. Also, I will say, that table spot near the end looked bad. It looked like Phoenix took a bad bump, so I hope he's okay in that. But Phoenix taking a bad bump, a completely unnecessary bad bump, basically sums up the entire show, and I'm just going to say it, AEW is not off to a good start in 2022. But what else is new? Because seriously, what the hell is wrong with AEW? This has been What the Hell is Wrong with AEW.
Thank you very much, Senor Dericho. Sir Dericho. Newly engaged, Mr. Jericho. Thank you for the submission as always, my man. I appreciate you. You know, the great thing about Brett Carter, and I've known this man for almost 6 or 7 years now, and one prevailing thing I've always felt about Brett Carter is that he's definitely not a
stooge and a clown.
But I can't say that for other people that are associated with All Elite Wrestling. Welcome, everybody, to Joshie's portion of What the Hell is Wrong with AEW, aka What Is It Wrong with AEW. Let's start off with the positives. Of course, we had another nice, fun interaction with CM Punk and MJF on Dynamite last night, the first Dynamite of 2022, the debut show on TBS. Let's hear a little bit of this exchange with MJF and CM Punk.
This cesspool! What a win for the captain! This is tremendous.
This is your future. This happens every single time you step into the ring until you step in the ring with me, you little bitch. Okay, it's bad enough. I am currently inside this cesspool known as herpes-infested New Jersey. Hey, don't harp on them. They're winners. You just lost. It's going to be real hard to fight for a title when you keep losing. Okay, you want to talk about being a loser? Everything that comes out of your mouth is fake. Everything that comes out of your mouth is fake and induces boredom. The only thing... No. You came out here last week and you said you were done with this. You said you wanted to focus on becoming a world champion. And now look at you. Where are you? Right back where you started. You want to know why? You might have these schmucks convinced you're a big deal, but I know the truth. And the truth is, deep down you know without me, you're nothing. I give you an edge. I put a chip on your shoulder. I make you relevant.
I'd call bullshit on that. Hands around the road there.
And for you to come out here and claim that I'm a waste of money, when you're the guy that sold Tony Khan and all of these people nothing more than a bill of goods. You ain't the guy you used to be, Punk. You ain't the savior these people have been waiting for. But you know who is? Maxwell Jacob Friedman. And by the way, I think it's really interesting you have such a problem with me saying I'm like Roddy Piper. You really got offended when I drummed up that comparison. So I'm just curious, PG Punk, do you think you're Roddy Piper? Because the last time I checked, unlike you, Piper was actually talented enough to main event a WrestleMania. So maybe shut up? I don't know. And by the way, if I'm not starting to be shown the proper respect around here, maybe I'll main event a Mania too. What are you laughing at, dipshit? All I'm trying to do is kick your ass, so how about you stop talking and get in the ring? I'll do it right here, right now in New Jersey. You ran from me, You hid behind FTR. All I want to do is give you the beating you deserve. And listen, pal, if you think the grass is so greener on the other side, be my guest. Go ahead, leave. Main event night 4 of a buy one, get one free extravaganza, and then get released faster than you last in the set. When you come back, I'll still be here, and that ass kicking will be waiting for you.
All right. There you go, a little piece of what happened there. MJF and CM Punk during their promo exchange last night on Dynamite. Some good stuff there, man. I don't have much else to add on to it. You heard what Bret Hart said. I agree with everything he said there. That was a good back and forth there. Got this slow build that's continuing on with MJF and CM Punk, and whenever this match does take place, it should be an interesting one. I'll say that. Some about the other stuff I enjoyed in the show. Hangman Page and Bryan Danielson. I enjoyed the match, so before people go after me, I want to say that first off. I enjoyed the match, but I was not emotionally invested by it. I enjoyed the action, but I didn't have a reason to cheer or boo. You know, Bryan doing his stupid jumping jacks. Bryan, I'm a jumping jackass. Danielson. I don't really have any emotional feelings about that, and that should be the case when I'm talking about your world title match. And Hangman Page retained. Thought everything went off without a hitch as far as the finish is concerned and stuff like that. I thought that was good. The match was fine, but why should I care about this going forward? We saw this match twice now. Why should Bryan get a third match? Where's the emotional investment in it? Where's the story? I don't know what the story is still, even then. 2 matches in, we had a 6-minute draw and a match that had a bunch of useless color just for the sake of, oh, here's our first match on TBS. We're going to give you blood because we're TV 14 and we're AEW. Enjoy the action. Don't get me wrong. I just wasn't emotionally invested by it because there's no story to it. It's just there. It's just a match. So, here's see what happens next between those guys. And then a big shout out to Jade Cargill becoming your brand new and inaugural AEW TBS champion. I thought the match with her and Ruby Soho was really good. And I thought that was good. Let's get into the stuff I did not like. Please, can anybody tell me, does anybody give 2 shits about Shawn Spears? Like, can anybody tell me with a straight face that they care about what Shawn Spears is doing? And the fact that Wardlow has to listen to Shawn Spears is even more funny to me. I'll say this, and Bert Carter kind of alluded to this earlier on in the segment, but honestly, for me, I agree with him. There's a real formatting issue when it comes to AEW and their shows. And it's not just Dynamite, but it's also Rampage too, and it's also how they lay out their shows on Dark and Elevation. And there's the I want to drop my load strategy that they like to implement, like, you know, having Hangman Page and Bryan Danielson go off first, and then the next segment you're seeing CM Punk, and the next segment after that you're seeing Chris Jericho. It's like this desperate plea of, hey guys, look at who we got, but what is the theme of our episode, and why should we continue watching your show after you're dropping all your big stars in the first 3-4 segments of the show, in the first hour of the show? Okay, we've already seen MJF and CM Punk. We've already seen Bryan Danielson. We've already seen Adam Cole in the backstage segment. We've already seen, I mentioned Jericho. We see all these other people, and it's like, okay, you get your marquee attractions right out of the way in the first hour. You won't see them on the rest of the show, and it's just matches that are just there. There's a real formatting issue. And I agree with him. If Bryan Danielson and Hangman Page are not going to main event last night's Dynamite show, there's no reason why Jade Cargill and Ruby Soho should not have closed that show. First off, I want to get this out of the way. My thoughts go out to Phoenix and that nasty injury he suffered last night in that tag match with the Lucha Brothers and Jurassic Express. One, I thought that match was unnecessary, and two, I thought the match was just there. I didn't care for it. It was your typical AEW tag team match, and I guess we should say congrats to the Jurassic Express for becoming the tag team champions, but again, I just felt like last night especially, it was not the right way to set the tone for 2022. And I feel like for AEW, they really, this is the third year of the promotion now, they really need to pinpoint in how they are laying out the formats of their show. There's no thread. We just had a tag match with a tag title change with no cliffhanger going into the next week's episode. AEW needs to stop dropping their load in the first hour and actually format the show so you can get to see all your stars throughout the entire span of the show. Not just, here's CM Punk in the first thing. Here is the Young Bucks. Here is Adam Cole. Here's Bryan Danielson. The second hour we got Wardlow against Shawn Dean. Carson against God knows who else. And it's like, what? We got everything Dynamite in the first hour, and the second half is AEW Dark or Rampage level. You know what I mean? There's a formatting issue. The matches that are chosen for these shows too are a problem. There has to be some reevaluation, and I think this also sets to another problem with AEW, and it's two things. It's Chris Jericho, and it's Tony Khan. I'll mention Jericho first. You heard me play the clip there of being a stooge and a clown. There's no other example of an AEW stooge and a clown more than Chris Jericho. First off, his segment last night was dog shit. I gave two shits about it. Chris Jericho needs to go the fuck home and stay the fuck home. Okay? I've been saying this for over a year and a half. Chris Jericho needs to get off of television or leave AEW in general. He's doing the company no favors, and he needs to go the fuck home and stay the fuck home. That's the first thing we need to get out of the way. Secondly, Tony Khan, Rick Moranis, nice to get a chance to talk about you again. Here we go. So this stooge and clown decided to spend his New Year's weekend deciding to call Big Swole let me rephrase this. Her wrestling wasn't good enough for his standards, and that was the reason as to why he decided to release Big Swole. And this was a response to a interview that Big Swole did over the weekend, and she talked about her experience at AEW, how she enjoyed it, and had some positive things to say about the company. And she also had some thoughts about the structure there and the environment and what we mentioned here on the podcast, the glad handy, the pat each other in the ass syndrome that's in there in AEW, where nobody can do anything wrong, nobody says no to anything, and we can just do whatever the fuck we want mentality because we're AEW, we got our marks, and we can do whatever we want because we're Teflon. Well, here's a reality check, folks. In 2022, AEW is not Teflon. And that should be your takeaway when you listen to what the hell is wrong with AEW, because we hold no punches here. I don't have an agenda with AEW. I want it to be good, but just like MJF said last night, not only CM Punk gives out a bill of goods, Tony Khan and AEW in general sells you a bill of goods. And Tony Khan, I'm going to tell you right now, man, this is not the only issue, but the fact that you went out of your way during the holiday, I wouldn't be surprised if Jericho's next to you when he wrote that response to Big Swole, but I'll leave that to speculation. But for the fact for you, instead of how about not saying anything at all? How about no response and letting your actions speak for yourself? You decide to act like a fucking mark and point out all the different races of performance that you have on your roster as a response to Big Swole saying that there needs to be a strange and some variety and equality in how AEW is structured. And here's the thing, your track record is not good. You are part of one of the worst sports organizations, one of the worst overall organizations in all of the United States, in the Jacksonville Jaguars. Your football team in the UK sucks ass, and AEW is hit and miss. So for him to get on this high horse and act like his shit those days sometimes just really ceases to amaze me sometimes. And it's the same guy when he does these interviews with Brandon Walker, or he's popping up on Busted Open and everybody's kissing his ass for the entire interview. There's just a disingenuous vibe I get from this dude. And for her to bring up issues with equality and how things are structured, where there's lack of structure in AEW, and real issues that not only she's brought up, but other people that have left the company brought up, stuff that I've brought up from just observing as a fan and somebody who covers the shows every week. For you to have that response and also plug your shitty edition of Rampage after that was just embarrassing. So, Chris Jericho, a.k.a. The Clown and the Stooge, and Tony Khan, you, my friends, are what the hell is wrong with AEW this week. Alright, folks. We're going to put a ribbon on the bow for this week's edition of the Who's Podcast, our first episode of 2022. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Josh Lopez Media. Hit me up at Instagram at Joshie Lopez94. That's Joshie Lopez94 on Twitter. By the way, you want to talk about another clown? How about Antonio Brown? Please, never let me see him on another NFL team again. Please, for the love of God. If you could, please bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. And always remember, be the authentic product that is yourself. And don't forget, nobody dictates the pace of your life but yourself. I love you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Hope you guys enjoyed this week's podcast. Hit us up in the reviews. Let us know what you like about this week's episode. And for Brother Carter, I'm Brother Adam. This has been episode 291 of the Hoots Podcast. 291 down, 9 more to go. The road to episode 300 continues. And we're going to wrap up this edition of the Hoots Podcast by sending you off to another brand new edition of the Thoughts of Dericho. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody, guys. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. I'm Joshie. I'll talk to y'all next week, right here on the Hoots Podcast. Yes, sir.
And now, the Thoughts of Dericho. Listen well, man. Welcome, one and all, to the segment that's going to have a kick booty 2022. It is the Thoughts of Dericho, featuring the one, the only, Brother Carter. Man, it is good to be back here on the podcast that hoots no, and excited to be back with all of you to sharing the Thoughts of Dericho. I hope you all had a very Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year. It was great for me. I actually got engaged over the break, so I'm very excited about that. Myself and my bride-to-be have a lot to do in the next little while, but we're very excited about that. And so really, really great stuff happening personally in the month of December. But now we are back here in January and ready to talk some wrestling. And we are going to do just that this week on the Thoughts of Dericho. And we're going to ease into things this week. And I'm really just going to talk about and break down Raw this week. Since, day one, the SmackDown this week was just a recap of the year. It was a great year in wrestling. And day one happened, and we all got the results of day one. So, obviously, the biggest thing to come out of that was Brock Lesnar winning the WWE Championship because the Tribal Chief had COVID. Best wishes to the Tribal Chief. I hope he gets his health back really soon, and I hope he's feeling really good. But the show must go on. And the show did go on, and the Beast is once again the WWE Champion, which was the right call. Like, look, if you're going to put Brock Lesnar in this match, you've got to have him win the title. And it's fine. He can have the title for a month, and then he'll drop it at Royal Rumble to whoever. Looking like it's going to be Lashley, which we'll get into in a little bit, which is fine. And you can do whatever you want to do getting into WrestleMania season. There's a lot of people at the top of the card who could easily be world champion. You've got Rollins, you've got Owens, you've got Rollins, you've got Owens, you've got Big E, you've got, heck, if you want to throw Finn Balor in there, you can. There's so many people at the top of the card that could be world champions. So it's going to make for a fun road to WrestleMania, and I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with that. But let's get into Raw, and let's get into the show this week. So we start with Brock Lesnar coming out, being reunited with his advocate, Paul Heyman, which was so cool. Heyman was back in his form. It's where he needs to be. Heyman and Lesnar are an amazing team. They're back together. They're what they need to be doing. And it was great. Paul Heyman was great. Brock Lesnar was great on the mic. I enjoyed this opening promo so much. It was awesome. The line that Heyman used about 1 week without his counsel, Roman Reigns already has corona, karma is a bitch, was awesome. I loved that. That was great. So that was really terrific. Great way to open up the show, and great to see Lesnar and Heyman back together, back where they belong. Should make for an interesting road to Royal Rumble with him and Reigns. Should be great. All right, we got RK Bro versus the Alpha Academy. Good match. I said this before. This new Otis isn't really doing it for me. I much prefer Otis when he was doing his comedy act with Tucker, and he was doing all that stuff with Mandy Rose. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. I loved every bit of that. I wish we were getting more of that. Unfortunately, we're not. And Otis is doing his thing with Alpha Academy. Fine. I wish they would be back together. I wish that he would be doing his comedy act still, but it is what it is. Good stuff with RK Bro and the Alpha Academy. Obviously, you needed to get RK Bro to take the pin here, because that can set up for a feud a little bit later on. So, really good stuff. We then get to a backstage segment. We've got AJ Styles and Omos, and I got to tell you, man, Omos near that interviewer, my goodness, he looks huge. Like his just hand on his face. That was actually kind of funny seeing that. So I thought that was great. Good stuff. Omos promo was short to the point. I liked it. Then we get the 24/7 title segment, and I've said this before many, many, many times on this show. I truly believe that Dana Brooke could be something special if she was utilized properly. But she's never been given a chance. She's never been given a good feud. This was just a waste of time, unfortunately, which is a shame, because all of these competitors are talented. Tozawa, Tamina, Reggie, and Dana Brooke. I wish they had more time to compete, but this match was over in 1 minute and 16 seconds. I don't like it, and I wish Dana Brooke would get an actual shot at a women's championship, because I think she could be something special. But this match was what it was. Becky Lynch comes out, and we get a decent promo from her. It wasn't great, but it was okay. I like the line of the Vincent Van Goat. I thought that was really cool. That'll be a new t-shirt for Becky Lynch coming forward, Vincent Van Goat. I thought that was actually a really good line. But her promo was okay. I actually preferred Becky Lynch when she was just the man, and she was just up kicking ass. This heel thing with her seems forced. I don't really like it. I much prefer her as a face that was just a no-nonsense, like a Stone Cold Steve Austin, like a no-nonsense face. Just tells you like it is, slaps you in the face. I hope we get that Becky Lynch back soon, because I'm just not a fan of this new Becky Lynch. I'm not going to lie to you. So, come out fine. We get a brawl between Liv Morgan and Bianca Belair. They have a brawl, which was fine. Doudrop is in the back with Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville, saying that she wants in too, so we're going to get a triple threat match, and that's going to be great next week on Raw. Really looking forward to that. I'm guessing Bianca Belair will get the win, but we'll see what happens with that. Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins say they got a plan backstage. That's fine, and they almost executed that plan well to the main event, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Women's Tag Team Titles match, Rhea Ripley, Nikki Ash versus Queen Zelina and Carmella. Here's another idea where another instance where I wish they would give these women more time. Nikki and Ash, Rhea Ripley are fantastic. Carmina and Queen Zelina know what they're doing as well. But this match was 2 minutes and 34 seconds. You've got to give them more time to show what they can do. Between them, the women didn't get a whole lot on Raw tonight. Between them and the segment with Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair and stuff, there just wasn't a whole lot for the women on Raw this week, which I didn't really like. I wish we would get more opportunities with them to showcase what they can, because I think Rhea Ripley's fantastic. Nikki ASH is great. And then you've got Zelina and Carmella. I mean, Corey Graves and Carmella is hilarious. The one line he said about "you colorblind idiot" was hilarious to Byron Saxton. I died laughing with that. I thought that was great. So I just wish that the women got more opportunities this week. Same thing here, like a quick match between the Street Profits and Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz. But I got to tell you, man, Montez Ford is special. Man, he is a special. And I'm hoping that the Royal Rumble is an opportunity for Montez Ford to really show what he can do as a single star, because I think he's tremendous. Tremendous athlete, tremendous on the make. He could be an incredible single star, and I hope he gets that opportunity. No knock to Angelo Dawkins, because I like Angelo Dawkins just fine. I like him quite a lot. But Montez Ford is the star. Montez Ford is the star of that team, no doubt about it. Damian Priest versus Dolph Ziggler in a great match. I was hoping Ziggler would get the win here so that Damian Priest can go out and win the Royal Rumble. Still doesn't mean he won't, but it's looking less and less likely. Josh thinks it's no shot, and after this, I'm not convinced that's going to happen. I hope he would, because I think that WWE has the next star in Damian Priest. And I've said that for a long time, that I think Damian Priest has all the makings of a world champion. So we'll see what happens, but a great match with him and Dolph Ziggler. I really like that. Good stuff with Miz and Maurice and Edge and Beth Phoenix, and it looks like the tag match that I thought was going to happen at WrestleMania is going to actually happen at the Royal Rumble, which is fine. That's going to be a lot of fun. And my only question is, what do you do with them after this? Like, how do you book them going forward? Because they're obviously not going to be in the Royal Rumble. Maybe they'll get one more match at Mania. We'll see. And then they can go off and do something else in the rest of the year. But this should be a fun tag match with Miz Maurice versus Beth Phoenix and Edge. That should be a lot of fun. Almost gets AJ Styles, beats him in kind of a squash, which is the right thing to do. But same thing here. How do you book each of the two of these superstars going forward? I hope AJ Styles would be competing for world championships. Maybe he wins the Rumble, but you know, and if he competes for world championships, that's fine. You can't leave out Omos, because Omos beat AJ Styles. So I'm just not sure how you book this going forward with AJ Styles and Omos, but we'll have to see what happens with that. Either way, Styles made Omos look great, and I hope Omos keeps competing for world championships. I hope Styles competes for world championships again in 2022. And then we get to our main event, and great main event with Bobby Lashley, Big E, Kevin Owens, and Seth Rollins. All of them are fantastic. The right person got the win. Bobby Lashley gets the win, setting up this incredible match between him and Lesnar at Royal Rumble. That's going to be fun. That's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see it. And then in the back, we have Brock Lesnar saying he'll see Roman Reigns will see him on SmackDown. So that should be a lot of fun. So some good stuff on Raw this week, some not so good stuff on Raw this week, but we'll see what happens with that going forward. Those are my thoughts. Those are the thoughts of Jericho this week. The first thoughts of Jericho of 2022. My final thought for the week is Antonio Brown, man. I tell you what, it's when I saw him take all of his stuff, all of his equipment off on Sunday, I was watching the game with my brother. Him and I were laughing our asses off just watching Antonio Brown just act like a complete moron on the sideline. And now new reports are coming out that he was cut from the team on the sideline, so he's decided to make a spectacle out of it because he was hurt. He said he was hurt and couldn't play. Coaching staff forced him to go in the game, and he just didn't want to go, so he quit right there on the sideline, or he was released right there on the sideline. I don't know what's happening with all of this. If it's his mental health, fine. I hope he gets the help that he needs. But Antonio Brown, it's just so sad because he was one of the greatest wide receivers in his prime of all time. And just to see this happen is just so sad. So if it is mental health, I hope he gets the help that he needs. But in the meantime, we just get to laugh our asses off at this clown.
This has been the Thoughts of Dericho. You're smarter now, man.